in Hong Kong.
Amazing.
And he's joined us today. So he's got a few questions for you.
Wonderful.
Of course, he's got children all over England. So yes, Justin, hi, how are you?
Hi, Yemisi. Thanks very much for
Hi.
your afternoon tea, which is my late supper here. I just wanted to ask a question about COVID specifically. Obviously, there's a lot of overseas students out here who are very worried about returning to the UK. And given that just today, some of the leading SAGE members have actually mentioned that they still feel it's too early for restrictions to be lifted. Although the BSA have brought out their COVID safe charter, how closely do you feel that aligns with the government's sentiments in returning the economy back to normal, given that the number of infections are still high? Now, I personally have a personal feel about this because I resisted to COVID in April in the UK. So a lot of my, I'm literally in the crosshairs, with my parents, because they're asking me, do I personally feel it's safe to go back? Should we start in September or next year? And for me, I have conflicting news coming from the UK all the time. Day after day, one leading figure saying, yes, it's safe to go back. We don't have to worry about it. The children aren't going to cause any transmissions of diseases, but safe, someone else says that. Do you personally feel it's a safe time to be coming back now?
Gosh, Justin, what an extraordinary. First of all, thank you for your question. It's a very very pertinent, very poignant question. And I can't imagine what emotional roller coaster you've been on as a family. It must have been a very, very harrowing time for you. And you've just so much in my thoughts for that one. We've been in lockdown now, obviously, as you know, since the end of March, and there is more time to run between September than there has been between March lockdown and now. So from March to September, we're only just halfway, maybe not even halfway through the number of weeks count. So because my husband's also a registrar for a leading school, we talk about it. Oh dear, we talk about this all the time, almost to the exclusion of everything else, because it is so important, and you can forget everything else wonderful about a school if people are not safe, and if people feel anxiety about safety. It's Maslow's hierarchy of need, isn't it? It's right down here at the bottom. You've got to be secure and safe. So, Justin, I feel it would not be honest of me to give you a completely categorical answer. I think we are, we managed with 840 girls this dispersed campus I was describing earlier, with a central town location and all these day girls. We didn't have a single case last term because of our internal management and control measures. Jill Hill, who is our lead nurse, is the medical lead nurse advisor to the BSA. And our health and safety advisor, Jonathan Claude, is the one whose updated risk assessments about reopening of boarding campuses has now been adopted by ISBA, the Independent Schools Bursars Association, and just recirculated to all of its members his risk assessment framework. So, the reopening of campus team that I've got here has these key staff. My estates manager, who used in Afghanistan for the British Army on logistics. So, we are not the British government and we're not medics, but we have got a really, really good team of people who understand about people, movement, personnel, feeding people, logistics, hygiene, cleaning, supplies, PPE. Right, I'm so lucky I've got people of this quality to work with, and we are very, very focused on it. So, Justin, what we also are doing is we are recommissioning a boarding house that is currently empty because it's awaiting refurbishment. out, and it's been fallow for 4 years. So obviously when you wake a building up, you have to make absolutely sure everything's ready. So, deep clean, fire checking, alarms, flushing water, Legionnaire, you name it. I'm putting the former British Army colonel on this matter. It will be in good shape. But this is really going to be for us like a nightingale. So the whole building, which at its fullest can hold 72, we are not anticipating to fill it in a normal way, because we can have single occupancy or dispersed occupancy in all of the rooms. But everything to do with COVID, testing people, PPE, isolation, quarantine for 14 days if people are going to come back to the UK and be looked after and be safe. We've got an entire building that we can use, which is additional capacity to all the boarding houses that we have. And what we are looking at the moment, I'm talking to Aegis, the Association of Guardians here, and a lot of guardianship organisations that we work with. We are also talking about whether it is time to consider booking, to be honest with you, chartering a plane out of Hong Kong.
Yes, I understand.
Because I think if we take control, we've got so much uncertainty, and everybody, if the government says we can't fly, we can't fly. But as soon as we're ready to fly, there are so many borders, potentially, if they're ready and if their families are ready, for them to come back, provided they're safe. But getting them to the UK to then be safe within our boarding environments, they've got to get through Heathrow, they've got to go on a commercial flight. All of these are additional barriers, I would imagine, plus the cost. So the sort of conversations that we're beginning to have now with our parental community in Hong Kong is, right, shall I talk, which we've begun a conversation. We've reached out to the Foreign Office to help with this, because my incoming chairman of governors is a former ambassador, and he actually arranged all the repatriation of British people back here in the Arab Spring. So, again, he knows about how you can override commercial norms if you want something done, and you want something done quickly, and you want it done safely. So if we had a situation where there was a flight or a couple of flights where the only passengers on those flights were returning boarders, and that people were tested and they were clear before they get on the plane, so that there are guarantees from the Hong Kong end, people travelling on that aircraft are well, and therefore the spacing on the plane in terms of travelling doesn't have to be, 2 meters apart, etc., so that your cost and the viability of these flights now starts to look more manageable and more affordable. Then is there a way in which we can bespoke the travel arrangements, and then immediately at the other end, you've got a coach, we pick up, we bring them door to door, literally door to door. So that doesn't answer your question, if I'm honest, Justin, about Britain in the wider context. What I can say is that when you look at regional variation within the UK, it's very, very varied. So in fact, the southwest has been one of the lowest incidence regions. So, you look at Gloucestershire and the southwest compared with London, or compared with Birmingham or the northeast of England, the stats are very, very different. So we will be, what I can say is that we will be keeping an eye. I mean, we are all literally plugged into the news 24/7, and we are keeping an eye on everything. And if we begin to think that the government's management is leading us to some difficult areas where we're not as confident as we would like to be, then we will have internal measures which go to a higher level of safety than that. We will take that as a minimum baseline, and we will understand that we might be banned from doing certain things, like they might put the whole country back into lockdown. There's nothing I can do about that. But in the meantime, we need to have measures here where, in the closed economy of the college, we know we have removed some of that uncertainty, and we have got good control measures in place.
Absolutely.
So I apologise, that's a long answer, but is that helpful in any way,
Sure.
Justin?
just going on to that, I'm aware of that Cheltenham Ladies College. We're discussing the hiring of a plane together with Cheltenham Boys College and Dean Close, and then bringing maybe 450 students from Hong Kong to the UK, and then to stay at a nearby university campus. But then that would be subject to the British government accepting the definition of the boarding school or a boarding environment like a dormitory as being a home. That hasn't been officially recognised yet by the government, has it?
So, Justin, I believe today or late yesterday, we have had some additional guidance because Julie Robinson from the ISC sent a follow-up question in specifically, and the BSA have issued us a one-item update this afternoon that says that a boarding house can be treated as a household. Mm-hmm. It can be treated as a household. So so what we're looking at really is whether we make our boarding capabilities available earlier than the 1st of September, which would be the start of term, in order to provide those quarantine opportunities rather than maybe using university accommodation or even a local hotel possibly. So it's whether we outsource it to an organisation that is going to be able to, for example, maybe have single ensuite rooms. That would probably be ideal, because then you could have multiple schools. But if that is looking as if it's not secure enough in terms of the delivery, will people actually be able to follow through? Will that definitely be available? Then we will do it in-house, and we will offer, we will manage that within our own boarding houses if necessary.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay,
fantastic. Justin, I hope that helps.
Thank you very much.